This is Mystery Talks.
Real.
Right, yeah, you'll have settlers, the Jewish settlers, go into the areas where it was predominantly an Arab-speaking area, and eventually it just became part of Israel once there was enough people. And I think
Yeah,
that was definitely planned ahead of time to know,
for
what
sure.
is
Yeah.
that state. And one thing I do want to mention is when it comes to this power is that throughout all this war, right, you're thinking, oh, there's terror on both sides. It's actually worse for the Palestinians and especially for the kids because at the end of this war, if it subsides, if there's a truce, the Jewish kids, the Jewish people, they will have food, shelter, they will have, education, they will have this accessible readily.
But
But
we
for
don't know that though.
Palestine, that's not the
We don't
case.
know
No,
that.
we do know that. We do know that the
But
support of the American government, we know that the money that the Israelis have, they will give to the Jewish people because that's their land. But to the Palestinians, they don't have as much support, as much aid. They don't have as much economic development. So it is much more difficult for the
yeah,
residents and the people of Palestine to actually get that sort of same necessities. And I think that's an important topic to talk about is that even regards of whatever side you support, it's humanitarian, regardless of politics or regardless of whose land is what, because we know land changes over time, like 1,000 years ago, this wasn't our land. And the humanitarian part is, I think, a really crucial standpoint when it comes to, at least in modern wars now, is to make sure every human has a basic right, and especially innocent bystanders.
In a way, we're seeing human nature being displayed at its, uh, you know, roughest and most, uh, how do you say, at its truest part. Because since the beginning, we've reacted with violence, anger, hostility, whenever there's a disparity of ideas or thought or religion. They don't go hand in hand. It doesn't coincide. It doesn't play well when it's put in the same room. So
No.
it's
Yeah.
that's exactly what's happening in Israel and Palestine. It's two different groups of people. They all have two completely different ideologies. There's like so much segregation. There's a
different
continued
cultures.
hatred that's building up over the years and continuing conflict. Um, and one people or the other being harassed and terrorized. So maybe it was only a matter of time that this was bound to happen, and we're
Yeah.
now seeing it fully displayed
Nature.
in real life. And yeah, it's again human nature because we've
Yeah,
never
human
stopped
nature.
since the beginning. It's always been like this, and you know
One thing
the
to keep in mind
yeah.
is as bad. I really need audiences and folks in the podcast to really understand this. As bad as this is, on a grand scheme of things, the world right now is one of the safest times ever in history. I think it's the safest because most people live until they're 80. Most people don't have to worry about a random invasion. If you live in Europe, if you live in North America, even if you live in Asia and China, you do not have to worry about a random invasion at night and you have to leave your apartment and it gets bombed the next day. So
Yeah.
most people are not in war. This is a very select, and that's why it's really on the news because it doesn't happen often. 100 years ago, you're having a lot of wars. 1,000 years ago, I mean, there's wars all over everywhere to colonize places. You'll have wars in Asia, wars in the Middle East.
There was pillaging, raping, everywhere.
Right, yeah, really grotesque, really, really grotesque. So we really need to understand that in this world, it's not just bad, 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 bad. Really on the grand scheme of things, people are living longer. Life is compared to before better when it comes to health measures. So that's
on
really
on
one
a
thing
global
that
scale.
folks need to
It might,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.